to games that we haven't heard anything about for a long time. The curiosity we can all get about what these games are about, when they're coming out, and when we're going to see gameplay can be truly overwhelming. Online, people scramble to see how much information you can glean from a 30-second teaser trailer or a one-sentence quote from an otherwise unrelated interview. And hi, my name is Zoe, and God, I am no different. Because, like those of you watching this, I am irrevocably curious about games that have been incognito for a while. So, I rounded up 10 games that we've heard very little to nothing about since their announcement. Regardless, get ready for me to delve into exactly how much we know about their gameplay, when they're coming out, and why it's taken so long to hear anything about them. So, here are 10 games we haven't heard anything about in ages. Of course Elden Ring is number 1 because it's Elden Ring. Announced in June 2019, we've been getting slivers of information about the collaboration between From Software and George R.R. Martin. And when I say slivers, I mean they're real slim. The entirety of the game's mythos is written by Martin after Miyazaki explained the premise and themes to him, and the trailer itself has a Norse grimdark theme, so Elden Ring is potentially shrugging off medieval aesthetics for Scandinavian influences. In contrast to From Software's most recent game, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, Elden Ring is going back to From Software's RPG roots instead of being action-based, and it's open world. You'll be traversing across its lands on horseback, hinting that Elden Ring will be more open than Dark Souls games, which have maps that are carefully connected up with shortcuts and alternate paths. Even though we know close to zero about what the gameplay entails, Phil Spencer of Xbox has played Elden Ring, the lucky bastard, and says in an interview with GameSpot that it's clearly the most ambitious game Miyazaki has done. Spencer mentions the gameplay mechanics in particular, so there's a chance that we're going to see some new features akin to the novelty of Sekiro's dying and resurrecting mechanic. As it's been over a year since we've heard anything about Elden Ring, I'd wager that we'll hear more about it later rather than sooner. So, knuckle down and remember, patience is a virtue. Or so I'm told. Bayonetta 3 has been quiet for 3 whole years, but don't panic. According to Platinum, the developers behind Bayonetta 3, the game isn't cancelled. Hideki Kamiya, writer of Bayonetta 2 and co-founder of Platinum Games, has said outright that anyone who has concerns should throw them out the window immediately because Platinum Games are still hard at work on it, which he said in an interview with Video Games Chronicle. So all we can say with certainty right now is that Bayonetta 3 is still coming to the Nintendo Switch. You're not going to like what comes next, because apart from that, we honestly don't know anything else about Bayonetta 3, including the premise for Bayonetta's return, who that mysterious figure is in the trailer, and why Bayonetta herself was seemingly dismembered. Metroid Prime 4. What on earth is going on with you? Which I know is a question I'm asking about every single game on this list, but it goes especially hard for Metroid Prime 4. Another one that was announced 3 years ago, it's still a long way off yet. In 2019, it was revealed that Nintendo are starting the game afresh with the help of Retro Studios. And apart from this teaser trailer, that's the sum total of what we know about Metroid Prime 4. After BIOSHOCK Infinite, things went quiet on the BIOSHOCK front for a good long while. That is, until late 2019, when 2K finally announced the name of the studio working on the next BIOSHOCK game. And that studio is named Cloud Chamber, led by Kelly Gilmore. If you're worried about some kind of reinvention, don't be, as 2K has emphasised that the studio will be continuing the series' powerful narrative and iconic first-person shooter gameplay. Whether that means a return to Rapture is on the cards is anyone's guess, but if you ask me, the only place they can really go with Rapture itself is a prequel to the events of BIOSHOCK. As Rapture itself is deteriorating and breaking apart at the end of BIOSHOCK 2, and the BIOSHOCK Infinite Burial at Sea DLC proved how iconic and immersive a pre-Civil War Rapture could be, showing how the city descended into turmoil might be in Cloud Chamber's purview. Like every single other game on this list, we'll have to wait and see. We're going from the depths of the ocean floor to high up in space as it's time to talk about STARFIELD. We might know more about this game than a chunk of other titles on this list, but most of that information has come from leaks, and those leaks are in the form of alleged screenshots rather than rumours. So, what do we actually know? We know that STARFIELD is currently Bethesda Studios' priority. I'll be coming back to Elder Scrolls 6 later, don't you worry. That it's going to use an overhauled version of the creation engine, and that it's going to rely more on procedural generation than other Bethesda titles. I'm afraid the closest thing we have to a release date is Todd Howard saying he doesn't think STARFIELD will launch on the PS4 or Xbox One generation of consoles. So I'd expect that means that it'll come out from perhaps 2022 onwards to account for the transition to the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Whether STARFIELD will come out on the PS5 remains to be seen, as Microsoft does now own Bethesda, so watch this space. Skull and Bones has had a tumultuous time in the past couple of years, and that's putting it mildly. With a trailer originally released in 2017 and its original release date at the tail end of 2018, Ubisoft's Pirate Warfare game has suffered setback after setback. Delayed first to 2019, then to March 2020, and finally to potentially as late as 2022, Ubisoft Berlin has been recruited to help Ubisoft Singapore with developing Skull and Bones. With a quote-unquote new vision emerging for the game, it sounds like parts of Skull and Bones have had to be reworked and altered to fit this new vision, hence the delays. Creative director Elizabeth Pellin explained further and told fans that the development team has dreamt something bigger for Skull and Bones, mentioning aspects like modernising the classic pirate fantasy, ensuring an immersive and visceral experience, and creating memorable in-game moments. Pellin outlined the challenges Ubisoft Singapore and Berlin face with Skull and Bones. With all these obstacles to surmount, it sounds like a 2022 release date is looking likely. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still being worked on, and according to an earnings call with Ubisoft CEO and founder Yves Guillemot, quote, "The game is progressing well. There's a lot of progress in that team and the game is coming along very well," unquote. But we haven't really seen much of it at all since it was announced in 2017. While most of the reasons remain elusive, the development under Beyond Good and Evil creator Michel Ancel sounds fraught, and Ancel left Ubisoft in September 2020. Libération, a French newspaper, reported that Ancel's time leading the Beyond Good and Evil 2 project was allegedly characterised by toxic management, disorganisation, and there were some allegations of abuse. Libération claims that these issues caused the development of Beyond Good and Evil 2 to be restarted many times, hence the delay in releasing or publicising more about the game. With Ancel's departure from Ubisoft, we might be hearing more about Beyond Good and Evil 2 in the future, but for now, all remains quiet on that front. This one is short and sweet, as the reasons we haven't heard any more about Overwatch 2 is clear. After announcing Overwatch 2 was in the works at BlizzCon 2019, Blizzard then went on to say almost immediately afterwards that it was going to stay very quiet indeed about Overwatch 2 until it had something concrete to share. Fair enough. Expect more news to come at BlizzCon 2021 or 2022. I told you it's going to be short. Much like Blizzard and Overwatch 2, this is a short one. Nintendo announced the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel at E3 2019, and ever since then, pickings for information about the sequel have been few and far between. There's nothing more than unsubstantiated rumours that the Breath of the Wild sequel is going to be released any time from the end of 2021 to 2022. Nintendo is keeping any tidbits about the game to itself, so we'll have to dine on that trailer and hydrated Ganon for a good long while yet. When it comes to Elder Scrolls 6, we have more than I honestly expected us to have at this point, because we have a teaser trailer. It was short, but it was confirmation that the much anticipated and yearned after Elder Scrolls 6 is being worked on. However, sorry to disappoint, but that was the last we've officially heard of Elder Scrolls 6 in quite a while. Starfield is the priority for Bethesda Studios at the moment, so it's going to be even longer before we get any concrete information about Elder Scrolls 6. In fact, out of all the games on this list, it's quite possible that Elder Scrolls 6 is the title we're going to be waiting on the longest. So remember, patience, virtue. And that's 10 games we haven't heard about for ages. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much. And don't forget to like and subscribe, as we here at Eurogamer have a new video out every single day. We'll be covering these games when they finally come out, so stay tuned. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go longingly watch all these trailers all over again. I'll see you next time.